Welcome back to the game plan. Noah Mueller here. It's time to review a few different things today. And this is going to be kind of a different episode. I'm going to review my NFL mock draft, my top 10 halfway through the year, the NFL honors halfway through the year, and who I think will win those awards. And I'm going to get one NFL game in, as well as my players of the week and my upset for next week. Let's get into it. Okay, so starting off with my mock draft, I have the first 10 picks predicted, and the order of the draft picks might not be the same. I organized this about a week ago. So starting off, number one overall pick, New England Patriots take cornerback slash wide receiver Travis Hunter from Colorado. Pretty simple pick. The guy can do it all in the Patriots. That's exactly what they need. They have the quarterback. They just got to get the star power around him. Number two for the Jaguars. I mean, they could trade down here potentially. Jaguars don't have any relying needs really, but if I had to pick one, it'd be cornerback. So I'm taking Will Johnson out of Michigan, the corner. He's the most talented cornerback in this draft class, and best believe that that's the biggest thing the Jaguars will need if they decide to go at that pick. Number three, the Saints taking Mason Graham, the D lineman. This is the best D lineman in the draft. The Saints at 3. They're in a pretty comfortable spot. They might go quarterback here, but I'm banking on them going D lineman, going Mason Graham. Number 4, this is where the quarterback trend kind of starts. The Carolina Panthers taking Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. I don't know if he's the most talented quarterback in this class. It's really a toss-up between 4 different guys, but looking at Shedeur Sanders here right now, he is the most raw talented with the most potential. And after seeing how Cam Ward has been playing, Cam Ward is going to be the next pick to the Browns in my prediction, but I think Cam Ward has been playing a little bit weaker as of recently. He still has a lot of raw talent. He's kind of the Anthony Richardson of this draft class. You just have to see if he pans out or not because, coming into this year, no one really knew him, but it's a lot of raw talent there, a lot of potential that could either be really good or really bad. And that's the kind of guy the Browns need to take a chance on, especially with the amount of talent they have around that team. Number 6, the Raiders going Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas here. He's been very injured this year, so we haven't seen much of him this year. But in the past, he's shown he has all the tools to be an NFL quarterback, and it looks like the Raiders would take him there realistically, looking at their options. And, I mean, they can build around Brock Bowers, the tight end they just drafted this year. He's been an absolute talent this year, good quarterback or not. And building around him, get a wide receiver, get a solid running back, and then you have Quinn Ewers. I mean, you could make a real offense out of that. Number 7, the New York Giants taking Carson Beck, the quarterback out of Georgia. So Carson Beck has definitely fell down my board a little bit. I had him top 4 originally. But still looking at the tape, Carson Beck can still throw the ball. He still has the traits of an NFL quarterback. He's just more of a system guy, and the Giants need to be able to build that system around him. But, I mean, Carson Beck has an arm. It'll certainly work in the NFL, especially in the Giants' offense. Guys like Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, who are just fast and get down the field quickly. With the arm of Carson Beck, I mean, the Giants can really make this guy work. Number 8, I have the edge rusher, Nick Scorton, going to the Dolphins. The best edge rusher in this draft besides James Pierce Jr., very talented, very quick off the edge, and I do think this could help the Dolphins. They're probably going to make the playoffs this year, bouncing back from when Tua got hurt, so they probably won't stay at that pick, but if they do, Nick Scorton is the pick. Number 9, I have the Titans taking offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. He's a very good offensive tackle, probably the best in this draft class, able to block, able to move quickly from the side to side, and he's a lot of power in his blocks. This could really help out developing Tyjae Spears, or even helping get Tony Pollard more and more yards. Number 10, the New York Jets are here right now. I project they'll stay here or go a little bit higher just because it hasn't looked like a great season for them. But if they're here, I mean, Aaron Rodgers retiring soon, so I have the Jets taking Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, the quarterback. I think he's very talented, and I think he's either going to the Giants or the Jets. It's going to be one or two. But if he goes to the Jets and they can build around Milroe like they have built around Rodgers here, it'll be a very talented team. Moving on to my NFL honors predictions. My MVP, Lamar Jackson. Nobody's done it like him this season, especially with the addition of Derrick Henry. It's been an unbelievable year for Lamar. He's going to go back-to-back. For my offensive player of the year, I mean, this is really no question here. Derrick Henry, the most talented offensive player in the NFL right now. Over 1,000 rushing yards through 10 weeks. It's just unbelievable how the Ravens have been able to use him. And he was really a guy during the offseason that I was banking on a team really using and getting the most out of him this season, and the Ravens have done just that. Defense player of the year, Myles Garrett. It would have been Hutchinson if he didn't get hurt, but sadly he had an injury. He's now sidelined for the year. Myles Garrett's the most consistent and the best defensive player in the NFL. This award's easily going to go to him. To the rookies now, the offensive rookie of the year, I have either Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. Both have looked very good. Of course, more talk has been on Jaden Daniels, but Bo Nix has silently been doing very good. So I'm not really too fully decided on that option yet, but I'm thinking it's more towards Bo Nix. But, I mean, you never know. You got to see how it works out, but those are my top two for that award. Defensive Rookie of the Year so far has been pretty easy. It's going to be Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been on lockdown all year against some of the best receivers in the NFL. In his rookie year, I mean, it just makes him look that much better. The fact that he's in a division like the NFC East, you have to guard Malik Neighbors, you have to guard CeeDee Lamb, you have to guard Terry McLaurin. Like, this is not an easy job, especially for a rookie, and him and Cooper DeJean have both been locking down very well. For my coach of the year, I know a lot of people are going to say Dan Quinn for the Commanders just because of how good they've been. But, I mean, if you built around this roster like that, he has a good scheme. But I feel like nothing fits a team much more than Jim Harbaugh has fit the Chargers. I mean, first year, they're 6-3. The Chargers last year, let me remind you, had a top 6 pick in the NFL draft. And he didn't even build that much around the roster. He got Ladd McConkey, that's a receiver. He got J.K. Dobbins, which I think is the steal of the year, honestly. He's been playing out of his mind when he's healthy. And he just really used this team to their max potential, something Brandon Staley couldn't really do in his tenure as the coach. And Jim Harbaugh, I believe, fully deserves this award and has just been the best coach in the NFL in terms of building his team up. And the Chargers are probably going to get a playoff spot because of him. And as for the last award, the comeback player of the year, I have no question here, Sam Darnold. He's from the Minnesota Vikings. He's been amazing all year. Vikings have really he's finally been able to fit into a system in Minnesota, and, I mean, he's been amazing all year. We're going to take a break, but after that, I will go over the Giants game, my players of the week, my upset, and that's it. We'll be right back. All right, Giants, what are you doing? Carolina Panthers, we have them in Germany. Easiest game of the year on our schedule. And we lose. How do we lose? Because Daniel Jones doesn't know how to throw a football. Stats go, Daniel Jones, 190 yards, but 2 interceptions. Tyrone Tracy, 103 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Bryce Young throwing for 126 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. Chuba Hubbard going for 153 yards and 1 touchdown. Our run defense is horrible. I mean, our pass rush is so good. We have the most sacks in the NFL, but we can't seem to guard the run for anything. Chuba Hubbard going for 160 yards. I get it. He's a good running back, but 160 yards, it's unacceptable to be able to let up more rushing yards than you are passing yards. We contained Bryce Young on the pass pretty well. I won't hold that against our secondary. We did do a pretty good job there. But back to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, what are you doing? I mean, you're getting paid $40 million a year. And I've had this conversation a million times. It's probably the last time I'll have it because the Giants are reevaluating their quarterback situation over the bye week. And Drew Lock's probably going to end up starting. But Daniel Jones, what are you doing? Just a terrible performance. I've realized over an entire year of watching Daniel Jones, an entire 6 years of watching Daniel Jones, this man cannot throw the football accurately for an entire game. Not at all. He can have his good throws. He can have his good moments. But he cannot throw the ball accurately and get it where it needs to be all game long. Something a couple of quarterbacks can do in this league, something that the Giants need their quarterback to be able to do. He just can't do it. We have such a talented team around him. Even Tyrone Tracy has been stepping up in the run game. I get it. He had that fumble in overtime, but in no way is this loss completely his fault. The run defense played terrible. Daniel Jones played terrible as usual. Just an unacceptable game. Hopefully, or thank God we get a better draft pick now. But we're taking a quarterback with that. If we don't, what's in store for next year, I don't even know. My top 3 players of the week. Number 3, I have Chuba Hubbard from the Panthers, who I just talked about. 153 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Great game for Chuba Hubbard. Giants' run defense fails again, and the Panthers just in creating holes for Chuba Hubbard to run in, and a great game overall for him. Number 2, Joe Burrow from the Bengals. The Bengals had an unbelievable game and still lost. Joe Burrow threw for 428 passing yards at 4 touchdowns. This is the Joe Burrow we've been waiting for all year, being completely honest. And if he keeps carrying this momentum, you never know. The Bengals could sneak into the playoffs. And number 1, no question, historic game, Jamar Chase, receiver for the Bengals. 11 receptions, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, Jamar Chase always has this one very historic game, no matter what game it is in the season. He always has one a year. And, I mean, this was the one. Jamar Chase played unbelievable against his Ravens secondary. And even though they lost, still a great game to reflect on for the Bengals, considering how good they finally were able to play. On the Bengals, my upset of the week for next week, I just talked up the Chargers. I talked up the Bengals. I have the Bengals beating the Chargers 31-24 next week. I think this Bengals offense can keep carrying it over. Bengals are currently projected to lose, but I don't think that's right. The Chargers, as good as they are, the Bengals have so many good weapons that are finally starting to come around, and this team should be much better than they are record-wise. That'll be it for the game plan. Next episode will be NFL and NBA based, talk about the upcoming week of each sport. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on The Game Plan.